What's up, guys? Welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. Today, we are finishing our full set review of Deadpool Weapon X with the super rares and chases. If you guys want me to do a third part going over all of the LE figures, like the play at home kit, the release day OP kit, the Jeff the Land Shark pizza box, the heist box or whatever. If you want me to go over all those figures, the legacy cards, and even all the bystanders, I don't know, let me know in the comments if that's something that you care enough to see. Otherwise, we're just going to end it here because honestly, I've already filmed this whole video once. This is my second take. The whole video was over 2 hours long. I'm trying to do these a lot quicker and more to the point. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting us off here, we have number 47, a Banshee. So the only downside with this guy is that you can't choose both of these options. Pulse Wave and Force Blast is a really slept on combo because you can't do anything about the knockback damage from the Pulse Wave because all your powers are still turned off. So that's really awesome. Being able to see through everything is super duper useful too. And yeah, just good stats and powers for 50 points. You can't go wrong with this guy. He's a really solid super rare figure. Now, his prime version, Vox Ignis, is another really cool figure. It does some really cool and interesting things. However, as of this moment, I don't really like him that much. I think he's kind of just a more expensive version of what Galactus does for you. Yeah, he does do a little bit extra, giving mystics. And the whole thing with the positive modifiers becoming negative is honestly probably the best benefit of his whole thing. And you can do some fun shenanigans to kind of pop him out. Like if you have him on one of your shifting focus type characters, they can swap out and he can just pop out and, do something right then and there. So there's some really cool things you can do with him. 90 points is just a lot, it feels like right now. So I just kind of feel like there's better primes at the moment. But he is a really cool figure, like I said, and in the future, he might have some more use. Next up, we have Maverick. He gets healed every time he takes damage. He's got traded Force Blast. He's got a penetrating energy explosion. It's a great combo there. And putting the enzyme token on characters is really nice because there's a lot of healing going around in the game right now. And so it's really going to force your opponent to take a power action to remove it. Otherwise, they're going to end up hurting themselves when they would heal with Steel Energy or whatever. So that's really cool. And yeah, I think, for 50 or 75 points, he's a pretty awesome character. I'd play him more often at 75, just to start with that running shot and everything. But not too bad at 50 either. You can always give him a motorcycle or something. But honestly, I think he's a little bit slept on. I think he has some pretty great utility. Next up, we have Scarlet Witch. She has a really fun chaos magic power with her die that is 2 1s, 2 6s, a 2 and a 5. So it is really chaotic whenever you prob something with her because it gives you better odds of crit missing and crit hitting, whoever you're probbing, you and your opponent. So it's really chaotic, really random, which unfortunately does not make her very good. But her sculpt is amazing, and she's got a cool new gimmick with the that chaos die and everything. So overall, I say she's just a fun character. A nice one to put on the shelf because she looks really good. But unfortunately, she's just too random to be meta competitive level good. She's kind of just there to be on fun teams, I would say. And moving right along, next we have Scarlet Witch's dad, Magneto, which is one of my favorite super rares of the whole set. I desperately still need to get one of these guys because he is just so cool. The sculpt is amazing. The dial is amazing, some really high stats and powers, great power combos, some really powerful once per game effects to choose from. I think probably the most useful one is going to be the one to just unequip all other characters, but that's one I would want to save until a couple turns into the game. Otherwise, they're just going to take a power action and immediately pick it back up. I think it'd be better to save that when they're double tokened, so we have to clear, they can't pick it back up right away, stuff like that. But yeah, besides that, just being able to hit their whole team with a pulse wave or something, and then nobody on their team can heal or reduce damage for the rest of the turn is crazy. Even if you don't hit everybody, just hitting a good chunk of characters, or even just one character like, Prime Colossus, Kong, stuff like that. Just make it super easy to actually deal damage to them, which is normally incredibly difficult because you're just shutting down all reducers. It's not Outwit, it's not Penetrating Blast, they just can't reduce it. And that's going to happen immediately on hit, which is really, really good because it's going to include his damage as well. So even if he just shoots somebody, for a top dial, 175 points, That's 5 damage straight through, no reducers. 100 points, still 4 damage straight through, so really, really good. I think him with some trick arrows would be a pretty great combo. Trick arrows is great on basically anybody, but being such a strong range attacker, it does give him that extra oomph. So I like him a lot. Will we see him in the meta? I think we will a little bit here and there. There are a few better choices, but he's really strong. Next up, we have another one of my favorites in this set. We have Storm A and B. We're going to try to look at them simultaneously here. If you just look at Storm A, she is not really that great by herself. You know, she is kind of the defensive version of the character. If we look here, she's really the one that you want to swap into when you need an extra prob, when you need a barrier or something, or just if she's double tokened, you know, she's not really going to do anything this turn. You might as well swap, you know, have the stealth, the super senses, the prob, all that good stuff. Otherwise, taking a look at Storm B, she is an incredibly strong range attacker. Again, the Force Blast and Pulse Wave combo is incredibly useful, and she also has the ability to choose the direction of knockback, as well as, you know, characters counting as blocking terrain when being knocked back. It just really adds a whole lot of extra damage potential, especially if you're playing a team full of, you know, knockback type of characters. Really, really cool. Like her a lot. She's such a strong attacker for the points, seeing through elevated, all that good stuff. And yeah, I think the combo of them, you know, B being such a strong range attacker and A being a pretty good support character, defensive type figure, is just really, I like the dynamic there, swapping between them. It's super fun, very cool. You know, 10 out of 10 figures for sure. Whoa, I'm about to make a name for myself here. We got Gambit up next, and he is really, really good. If I had to place him in my top 5 Gambits, he'd probably be number 2, however, right behind the House of X Super Rare. I like that one a little bit more still. This one is just a little bit random. Really just depends on your role. But, you know, if you get that one good roll that you're looking for, you can kind of just leave the die on his card until you really feel like you need to roll it again. So you can kind of just, if you get lucky the first time, you can just leave it there for most of the game. I think he's got good stats and powers, some really, you know, interesting special effects there. There's a lot of Force Blast in this set, by the way. I want to point that out now. We're not very far into the super rares, and this is already, what, the 4th or 5th character that has, like, traded Force Blast. Pretty crazy. Lots of knockback in this set. But yeah, I really like this Gambit a lot. Like I said, probably my second favorite Gambit of all time. I don't really love the suit, though. I like his normal suit better. He's still great, and you just make sure people know what happened here today. Next up, we're going to take a look at Domino. She's got a Hot Shots trait like we've seen on a lot of other characters. It's important to note here that you really want to pay attention to remembering to roll her leadership every turn, because you're going to want to be stacking those Hot Shots tokens on her every time you hit the leadership, just to be able to use those to roll her Domino die, which, if you don't know, is mostly 6s. A 1, a 2, a 5, and 3 6s. It gives you insane odds, of rolling really high all the time. Prob control, obviously, and whenever she makes a range attack, she can use that die as well, is really, really good. And yeah, super senses on a 4 through 6, which you can potentially use her special die for that if, you know, use the Hot Shots token. So it gives her just really good super sense odds. And yeah, I kind of really just want to slap a motorcycle on her to give her a running shot. But otherwise, I really, really like this Domino. That Domino die effect is super duper good. She kind of seems like she fits a really good niche of, like, a really fun figure, but also pretty useful, because it's not as random with her die as we've seen with, like, Gambit and Scarlet Witch being, like, super randomized. Could really help you in the moment or hurt you or maybe do nothing really. But her effects seem just really solid overall for helping you out. And next up, we have Prime Domino, a sideline active to bring her in if you have the regular Domino get KO'd. So that's nice for any team that you happen to be playing the regular Domino on. Otherwise, she's a really strong attacker. If she gets hit to it, is the only downside. She's kind of just one of those figures that if you see her on the opposing team, probably just ignore her at first, because she's got 3 stop clicks in a row. It's going to be really hard to get through with the super duper senses, and then you're really just knocking her onto a really powerful attack power as well. So probably better to just leave her top dial until, you know, you can deal with her a little more easily. But that's just playing against her. If you're playing with her, you know, she looks really strong, really fun. You probably just want to run her up into the fight as early as possible and just hope they hit her onto that stop click. Because that's when she gets so good. So yeah, I don't know. I like her a lot. She's a fun sideline option as well if you don't have a better prime spot on your team to come in for the other domino. Although I will say that the rare primes in this set are definitely better than the super rare primes, which is a little odd, but you know, it is what it is, and it's kind of cool that it is that way. But next up we have Patch, and in case you didn't know, he does accidentally have a rare, a silver rarity tab, so they did errata that. He is supposed to be a super rare, as you can see on his card here. I really like that free once per game quake that he has that blows up a bunch of terrain. 60 or 40 points, you know, not too bad either way. And with his awesome special movement power, he can sidestep and he can place himself in hindering terrain. He's already in hindering terrain or adjacent to an opposing character. So he can actually get super far up the map really quickly. You know, you can TK him into hindering or close to it. He could sidestep into it or something and then place himself in more hindering or adjacent to an opposing character within 4. So that's already like 10 squares out that he got with just a little bit of help. And then he can just flurry on somebody, or he can do the free quake, or both. So yeah, pretty cool. You could slap a motorcycle on him so he could charge flurry and then do the free quake. I don't know. I think he's actually pretty cool. You know, nothing too crazy. We've seen other really strong close attackers like that before. That can pop around the map, kind of like Batman. So yeah, overall, I think he's a pretty great version of the character. Not quite as good as the Chase, maybe. I do like the Chase version of Patch a lot. But next up, we have Longshot. His whole thing is being +3 attack or +3 defense, being able to deal more damage. I do kind of want to note here that if his attack is +3, he increases damage dealt by 1. So if he triple targets and hits 3 people, you know, you can either give them all 1 damage and increases damage dealt to each of them by 1. So it'd be 2, 2, 2. Or, you know, he could say give 3 damage to one guy, which is going to be increased damage dealt to 4. And then the other 2 are going to take 1, 1 because increases 0 to 1. Stuff like that. So you can kind of spread out a lot of damage that way if you're triple targeting with the +3 attack. But his die is kind of random. But I mean, if you do hit that, getting that +3 for his perplex, if you do that for his own attack or his own defense or somebody else's, it's really strong. But again, kind of random is the only downside. It is 50-50 odds to do a regular perplex, or otherwise it's going to be a +2 or maybe a +3. So I think it's definitely better than the standard perplex. He's a pretty good range attacker. Again, only downside being he's a little bit random, but honestly, it's really not that hard to get him +3 attack. You know, if you have like Scott Porter giving everybody map wide +1 attack, and maybe he just perplexes himself with a +2, then you're already there. Or if you only get a 1, then you just have somebody else perplex him +1. You know, you just have enough perplex on your team really, and this guy will be good. Only thing that sucks is his defense is really low. I think they're trying to account for the +3 potential defense. But even if you do +3 as defense, you know, the -1 damage is nice, but it's basically just giving him toughness, which isn't really that crazy. Unless you do give him something that gives him toughness or invuln, and then it is decreasing their damage by -1, because that's totally different. It's not reducing the damage he's taking, it's actually modifying their damage -1, which means it could stack with a reducer reducing the damage he then takes, which is pretty cool. But we don't currently have anything that reduces damage, though, unless you randomly have, I think, the helmet from the Peacemaker helmet could randomly land on invuln sometimes. Probably not the best idea. Overall, he's really just dependent on, you know, perplexing him up a bunch, and you might be able to spend your resources better elsewhere, but he's pretty decent. But moving on, next here, we have the super rare Professor X, who has some keyword cheating, which is always good, but also giving the shield team ability to all the friendly Starjammers, which, you know, also includes X-Men, is going to be really nice, because that is a really good team ability, and, you know, just giving it to everybody for free is super good. And the leadership is nice, and you can generate some bystanders, but he only has that effect if you're playing him at 90 points, and you always want to generate Lilandra first, because she's max of 1, and she gives you the prob, and then if she dies, you just generate her again, hopefully. You could just play him at 35 points just for this trait alone. I think that's definitely worth the 35 points. Just, you know, kind of keyword cheating, giving everybody shield TA. He's still got, like, mind control, outwit, so not too bad at all for 35 points, especially seeing through characters, too, is pretty nice. So yeah, I think he's definitely playable at both point values. Personally, I think I actually like him more at 35, but the 90 point value is really nice to be just popping out out a ton of bystanders. Up next we have Wolverine Pool, and again, this is another figure I love, one of my favorite figures of the whole set, and I just have not managed to get one just yet. I'm working on it still, you know, but this guy's really fun. You know, the giant reach 4 that can cut through walls is insane, and then the potential trait where he can roll to increase his critical hit damage by the result instead of 1. So you could potentially deal an extra 6 damage from a critical hit is nuts. But I feel like that's just one of those things that you'd forget about in the middle of a game. You'd be like, oh yeah, I rolled a critical hit. Yeah, +1 damage. Awesome. And just kind of, you know, next turn be like, oh, wait a minute. I forgot I could roll for that. Shoot. But if you do remember it, it definitely has potential. I kind of want to combo him with some of these Hellfire Gala figures that can replace dice to a 5 and stuff. And then there's other effects you could put on him, like there's some old equipment, there's tarot cards, there's the Scott Porter Bystander, there's the Saint Walker figure that all say like your critical hits are on like 10 plus or even 9 plus, I think, for some of them. So I think giving him the ability to crit on like a 9 or 10 plus, and then also having a lot of those die replacements from the Hellfire Gala to, you know, make all of his dice 5s, be like automatic 10s every time. Then he could be doing massive damage, rolling that critical hit damage. So that seems fun. I also think it's really interesting that he has a stop click on his 50-point starting line. Stop Super Sense's toughness. Obviously, you know, think, oh, what's the point of that? But I mean, stop clicks are protected outwit, protected pulse wave, which is actually really cool. I think that makes his 50-point line all the better. I kind of feel like that's the point line you want to start at, honestly. I'd probably just play him at 50, slap a motorcycle on him for the charge, you know, you get super senses for all those clicks in between with the regen, and, you know, save 10 points off the 75 line. Start with Precision Strike is also really good. So I like the 50-point line a lot. But yeah, I mean, his defense power is protected out in Pulse Wave, so that just makes him that much, you know, a little bit harder to deal with, which is always nice. And yeah, I just think he's really cool. You know, all the things he can do with a giant reach 4, destroying blocking and stuff is just super nuts. Crazy critical hit damage. I love him. He's super fun figure. Is he meta? I don't know. Maybe. I think he's got potential for sure. But even if he's not, I still love him regardless because he's a super freaking cool figure. All right. And last but certainly not least for the super rares, we have Cable. He's coming in at 90 or 40 points. He's got a comically large gun, which is amazing. Makes for one heck of a sculpt. That thing looks so freaking cool. I love it. But anyway, he starts with this really interesting trait where you can be assigned up to 2 equipment during force construction and can be equipped with any number of equipment. So you can get some really interesting equipment combos on him. I think you really want to just play him at 40 points and, you know, kind of maximize your points there. You know, it's cool though, because you can give him a sword and a motorcycle. So he's got like charge, super senses, blades, and whatever else the sword gives him. It makes him a really, you know, close attack threat, right? Or maybe instead of a sword, you give him Bucky Arm, so he's got a close combat expert. I don't know. But then you could maybe also give him a motorcycle for running shot or hypersonic and give him like the trick arrows or even like pumpkin bombs or something. Make him a really ranged heavy threat, you know? Or since he's already got TK and traded leadership and some other, you know, keyword shenanigans and some other placement effects, which are really cool. In addition to the TK, you know, maybe you just make him a super heavy support figure, slap on a, you know, a lantern ring for some perplex, empower, support. There's a lot of different lantern rings for any of those cool powers. You know, maybe even give him 2 different lantern rings. I don't know. But my point is basically just that he's very flexible to whatever you want him to be in your team. You want him to be a range attacker, a close attacker, a really good support figure, whatever. He kind of fills that role. He does a lot of really cool, interesting things on his own. I think, honestly, the only downside is that he's got kind of a bland-ish dial. There's not a whole lot going on there other than, like, they don't want to put too much on him because if you stack too much equipment on him, he's going to get absolutely ridiculous. So they have to keep him kind of toned down. But overall, he's still a really, really cool figure. And I like him a lot. One of my favorite Cables. But let's move along now to the chases. Starting us off, we got Wolverine and LCD, which they have the Wolverine squad trait. So we saw this on one of the uncommons, but whenever this character rolls a 5 or 6 on a single D6 after resolutions, you may heal a friendly character with the Wolverine squad trait 1 click. I love that, especially, you know, because they pretty much all have blades. Sometimes they'll have leadership, super senses, shape change, all kinds of stuff. impervious. You know, anytime they roll that 5 or 6, you get to heal a click on them or any of the other ones, which is really cool. But as far as this figure goes, I really like the living bomb trait. Getting that free pulse wave is really good. You can literally just run them all the way up to your opponent's start area almost and just free pulse wave. And it's as free, but only if it targets the chosen character. So until that chosen character is KO'd, you can just free pulse wave every single turn, which is just nuts. They're really strong that way. I like them a lot. And in addition to that, I really like their, single D6 reroll, which really helps out combos with their Wolverine squad trait. Overall, a really good chase figure. I like them quite a bit. But next up, we have Wolverine, aka Phoenix Wolverine. And this dude is absolutely nuts. I honestly didn't like him that much when I first took a look at him. He felt, like 275 points is a lot, and his stop clicks are only the first time this click is revealed, so it doesn't really feel that great. It's like, oh man, I get 3 stops, that's nice, but even if I heal off him, it's not going to stop again. But you know what? That really doesn't matter. This dude is really hard to get through because every time he takes damage, he's got regen as free. He gets +1 to all of his single D6 rolls for every adjacent opposing character. So every time he regens, he could get like +2, +3, +4 to the roll and heal a ton of clicks back every turn. He's got the poison that's even if you moved or placed, the giant reach, flurry all the time. You really just run this dude up in there and just sit next to a group of enemies and say, hit me, deal with it. Because also, if he's next to a bunch of people, when he hits that stop click, he gets to roll the first time it's revealed and deal a character within 3 squares damage equal to half the result of a die roll. And then again, that's +1 for all the characters he's next to. So he could do massive penetrating damage. And basically he gets hit onto a stop click, like KO something. Okay, now I'm going to regen, heal most of that, if not all of that damage right back. And then just start flurrying on people, poisoning stuff. And he's just super hard to deal with. I actually like him a lot more than I thought. 275 points is a lot. It does not give you a lot of room to work with. You maybe get a Scott Porter, or maybe you equip him with a sword or something, and you get like 15 points of, I don't know, time breakers or some other random 15-point figures to work with. There's definitely some stuff you can work with there. But yeah, he's actually a pretty well-designed one-man army, and I really want one for myself because the sculpt also is maybe the best sculpt in the whole set. Just an amazing figure overall, 10 out of 10. Next up, we have probably my favorite chase personally in the whole set, Weapon X. This dude's insane. The Wolverine squad trait, super good for him specifically, because out of all of these Wolverine squad characters, I think he's the only one that has stop clicks, and not just one stop click. Depending on how many points you're playing him, he could have 2 or 3 stop clicks, and that is every time he rolls a 5 or 6 on a single D6. So he's got willpower, so he can heal a click whenever he hits willpower. He's got blades for most of his dial. Anytime he runs up and hits a 5 or 6 on blades, boom, he's healing a click back. He's got this really cool trait to roll a d6 and move him through characters and deal them penetrating damage. So it's kind of like a little free retail type of thing every turn, potentially every turn he's taken damage. And again, if he hits a 5 or 6 on that, he's healing a click. So it's just crazy. If he hits his senses, if he gets hit onto a stop and hits a 5 or 6 on senses, boom, he heals a click. I do think it's important to note that it was ruled by WizKids. I saw that they do physically have to roll a 5 or 6 on the die. For effects, that gives you like +1 to all your rolls. If you rolled a 4, it would still be a 5. It would still succeed. But apparently this trait does not view it as such, I guess. So that's kind of a bummer. But still, I really love to throw the Warlock Sword on this guy because that gives him Blades Claws to start with, as well as Shape Change for his whole dial and Plasticity, kind of lock him up next to you. And I like playing him best, I think, at 75 points. That gets you the double stop clicks. He starts with Impervious, so he could hit that Impervious. And the cool thing is, you still get to roll if they hit you with penetrating damage. It doesn't say you can't roll for it. You just wouldn't be able to reduce it at all, but you can still roll for it. And if you hit a 5 or 6 on that Impervious, he'd hit the stop click, and then after resolutions, heal 1 from hitting a 5 or 6. So it's pretty nuts. Honestly, I think he's one of the best close attackers in the game right now. And if you pair him up with like the APOC Genesis combo, the prize figures, Genesis making all of his blades be like minimum printed damage +1 is kind of nice. But especially Apocalypse, giving him a blades rollout essentially on close attacks is super good, because that just gives him another chance to, you know, dodge the damage, and it gives him another chance to roll 5 or 6 to heal too. So really, really strong overall. I like him a lot, and I also love to pair him up with Major Logan, who we'll take a look at in a minute. But first, because we're going in order of numbers, we have Zombie Wolverine. I actually just pulled this guy in another video I just filmed that will probably go up after this one, so spoiler alert there, I guess. But he's got Wolverine squad trait as well, so got that healing on a 5 or 6. The Z-Virus thing is pretty neat, so he could essentially hit somebody like onto a stop click, and then at the beginning of their turn, they're just going to take an unavoidable. There's not really anything they can do about it. So you can kind of focus your attacks elsewhere, you know? You're like, that person, that character is dead. I don't have to worry about them. By the time their turn starts, it's going to be over for them. So that's really cool. Otherwise, you know, he's got good stats and powers of 75 points. When he would be KO'd, the exact same thing we saw with the deceased chases. He goes to that kind of zombie dial there at the end with the 3 clicks. And like, yeah, you can heal him on those last 3 clicks. You just can't heal him up past that to his other dial, but still really cool. You know, gives him that extra bit of life, and he's just a pretty decent character, really fun. You know, zombies are always fun to play, and this dude is no different. Who doesn't love a zombie Wolverine? But next up we have Major Logan, like I was talking about a minute ago. This is probably the best chase in the set. I know this guy's going for like almost 200, maybe a little over 200 now. He's going for a lot at the moment because he's just that good. And no, it doesn't really have anything to do with the flurry as free, but that is nice if they have any colossals like, oh, I don't know, Kong, or happen to have any robots. That free flurry is great to just run up there and just be like, full movement flurry against you. Nice. Mainly it's this damage power. It's super good. As long as one or more opposing characters share a name with another character on the map, all of your single d6 rolls are +1, and all of your opponent's single d6 rolls are -1. That's so good. That's insane. Like, you know, if they have a Scott Porter and you have a Scott Porter, boom. If they have 2 Scott Porters, boom. If they have 2 Poison Ivies, boom. If they have 2 Kongs, boom. 2 Carnage Silver Surfers, boom. It's so easy for this effect to activate. Like especially right now when everybody's playing Scott Porters and stuff, like you will almost guaranteed get this to go off every single time. So yeah, +1, all your single d6 rolls, so all your leaderships are +1, all your senses are +1, all your blades are +1, etc., etc., and all theirs are -1. Just makes everything so much harder to pull off for them and so much easier for you. Only downside is that it is just a regular damage power. You can just run up and outwit it. You can also potentially knock him off of it. He has a few clicks there down in the back half of his dial where he doesn't have it. So yeah, otherwise, just a really, really strong figure. Oh, he was errated. He's actually 45 points. This was a mistake. On his dial, it does actually say 45. On the card, it said 50, and they errated it to actually be 45. So it just makes him even better. You know, it gives you 5 more points to work with on your team. This guy's super nuts. I also kind of want to give him a motorcycle because it's just sidestep flurry on his move power, so he could use starting charge, I think, and also having full dial super senses to give him that extra survivability, and that's already probably going to be +1 from his own trait. And again, that triggers his Wolverine squad trait if he hits a 5 or 6 on that to heal. So really, really good. And again, really amazing combo with Weapon X, I've found. I like them a lot. Next up, we have Patch. Again, Wolverine squad trait. He's got this other cool trait where if he's adjacent to water terrain and he's not equipped, you can take a free action to equip him with a 10-point or less object from your sideline. So that's really neat to kind of put different equipment on the sideline to equip him with for different situations. And then yeah, he's just got some pretty neat, you know, powers and stuff there. Full speed charge if he's in hindering. He also has full speed charge, which is great. He deals penetrating damage if he started in hindering. So, you know, really good there. 12 attack, you know, good stats and powers the whole time. I love the whole thing where if a character with assassin or martial artist keyword attacks him, modify their attack and damage -1 because he's fought so many ninjas. I love that. That's just hilarious. So yeah, I really like this patch a lot. He does a lot of really cool and interesting things. So far, all of the Wolverine chases have been amazing, but moving on next, we have Wolverine and Deadpool, and I'm going to be honest here, you guys, this figure, I love it because it's Wolverine and Deadpool. You know, we just got Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie, which was an amazing 11 out of 10 movie. I loved it so much, but this figure, and it pains me to say it, it kind of disappoints. You know, I love that they brought back the trait great where you can pop out a Deadpool or a Wolverine on their last non-KO click, heal them 2 clicks, whenever this character would be KO'd. So it's like, one of them gets KO'd and the other one's kind of barely hanging on still, right? That's kind of cool. But I feel like there's a lot of Predator references in this figure, and that's cool. I love that movie, so I get all the references, and I think it's amazing. But it really just feels like they leaned way too heavy into that Predator reference, and this character is essentially those Predator characters, with the 12 attack penetrating blast for 4 damage, and whenever they KO an opposing character, they can make another attack. That's nice. I kind of wish it was just hit, not on KO, but it is still pretty nice. And they only have, at the beginning of your turn, you can heal them 1 click, is their only way of healing, besides a couple clicks of regen. I really feel like for the 2 characters in the entire Marvel Universe with the most, insane healing factors, they should have more healing than that. It should be beginning of turn, heal a click, end of turn, heal a click, free heal a click. I don't know. There should just been more to it than that. And a couple stop clicks too. Would it kill him to give him a stop click or 2? I feel like that would be pretty nice, especially coming in at 90 points. It's a little expensive. So as much as I love this figure, I also am pretty disappointed with it at the same time. So I'm very conflicted with this one. Like I said, lots of things I love about it, lots of things that could be much better. So I kind of just hope we get another Wolverine and Deadpool duo figure in the future that feels more like a Wolverine and Deadpool. Would be nice. Next up, we have Old Man Logan. And again, 2 disappointments in a row kind of sucks. I love Old Man Logan. However, this figure coming in at a whopping 120 points or 60 points. Honestly, neither of his point values feel worth it. You have to take so much damage to be able to heal a little bit at a time. I don't think you're going to be able to build him up quick enough. Being able to destroy blocking is nice and all. Charge flurry, blades precision, yada yada. Randomly getting close combat expert perplex on the last 2 clicks feels weird. I feel like those could have been stop clicks or something. Again, I just honestly don't see how this character's 120 points. Kind of feel like you could have made him 60, 40 or something, and he would have been okay. Yeah, I don't know. It pains me again, but this one I think is, in my opinion, the worst chase of the whole set. Sucks, but it just is what it is. Next up, however, we do have a really good one. Deadpool and Hitmonkey, and they are really, really good for assassin teams. They are like the next main attacker that assassin teams were waiting for. We had the Prime Talon, I think, from Notorious, who's kind of like the main attacker of the team, and she, shuts off all the defense powers of the target whenever an assassin attacks them, so that's super good. And then combo that with this Deadpool and Hitmonkey that can attack the target twice is really strong. They have, precision. All other assassins get +1 attack and damage when attacking somebody that has been hit by them this turn, so even if they hit once and don't finish off the character, maybe they miss a second attack, whatever, then all your other friendly characters are going to have better odds of hitting them and deal more damage. So that's really cool. They can see through hindering characters, got great stats and powers, safeguard opposing prob control, and the targets can't use shape change. Kind of covers the only defense that they would have had. Like, comboing this with Talon shuts off all their defense powers, shape change prob, and they can see through stealth. So there's literally like no hiding, there's no defense, and they can shoot twice. I think it's a really powerful combo, honestly, and I just feel like assassin teams, the only thing they're missing at this point is the same effect that Ra's al Ghul has, where you can just take a free action or whatever to assign a new target, but he's like 80 points. We need somebody that's like, 40, 30 some points, just a really cheap character that can do that same thing, assign another target. Then I think we really got something with the assassin teams here. Also, probably some more support characters, because we are about to lose the Scott Porters, which are really the only support characters I think that assassin has, so that'll suck. But I think assassin overall is a really, really cool and strong keyword right now because of just a couple of characters, so they're awesome. Moving on, next we have another Deadpool duo here, Deadpool and Death. This is a really fun one. I love how they have the can't die effect, where as long as you have another figure, you just put them back in your starting area. It's like the exact same effect that the old Lady Death had from the, I think, Deadpool and X-Force set. So it's kind of neat to like bring that back. And also, if you can get them across the map, you can KO something in their sideline to score 10 points. That's kind of nice. I don't really feel like that's super worth it. I'd kind of probably just keep running them out there to fight stuff. And if they die, oh well, they just come back. And then you just run them out there and shoot stuff again. That's probably the best way to play them. Although your opponent would win after KOing them 4 times, because they would score 400 points. And there is, the like mercy rule or whatever. If you score 100 points over the build total, you automatically win. So watch out for that. But overall, They're pretty cool and pretty fun. And next up is, I think, maybe my favorite of the Deadpool duos here, King Deadpool and Elsa Bloodstone. They do such amazing things for the monster keyword. They're also good on assassins as well, but mainly you want to use these on a monster team. I think they work really, really well with some of the Black Lanterns because they just give everybody with monster keyword a pizza object at the beginning of the game, which you can take a free action to destroy it, to heal a click. So pretty much all your Black Lanterns now would instantly have the ability to heal themselves. They also just give you a free Jeff the Land Shark, who also has the ability to just pop out pizza tokens for other people to pick up and everything. So that's really cool. They also have a stop click, you know, so they got some good survivability. They always deal penetrating damage, which is great. They have a big energy explosion effect, which is really awesome. Yeah, I think they're like a great attacker. You know, they got your leadership that a lot of monster teams are kind of missing, especially Black Lanterns, hint, hint. I think they're just really good with Black Lanterns. And yeah, they're just a really, really strong figure overall. They're doing a lot to support the team. They get you a free character, and they're just a really strong attacker as well on top of all of it. Oh, and they've got marksman keywords, so they can, you know, get the trick arrows for free. So yeah, why not use them? They're freaking amazing. I like them. They're, I think, one of the best chases of the set. Not my personal favorite. Like I said, Weapon X, probably my personal favorite. I think Weapon X, a Major Logan for sure. The Phoenix Wolverine and also this King Deadpool and Elsa Bloodstone, probably the top chases of the whole set. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because we have one more, which is Wolverine and SheHulk. I love that fastball special trait to be able to swap them into a Wolverine and a SheHulk. I think the best combination, if you're playing them at the full 160, you probably want to use the 100-point SheHulk from next phase, the chase, and then pretty much any Wolverine. The common one from this set is really good. The one from the first appearance Wolverine iconic set is really good. Also, technically, the Hellfire Gala Wolverine, I know it's X23, but her name is Wolverine, so it does count. You could use her. She's really good for this too. Only downside is you got to be careful that the Wolverine doesn't get KO'd, because then you can't, you know, merge back into this one. But even if that does happen, it's not really the end of the world. The Chase SheHulk is probably better than this Wolverine and SheHulk overall. But yeah, I like playing them. They're fun. I just love the fastball special in any way, shape, or form. Usually with Colossus, but in this way is really, really cool and fun too. Yeah, they do some fun stuff. They're actually pretty decent. They're just a little high points. Probably their biggest downside. Playing them at 95 isn't too bad, but you can't really split them into as many good options, you know? Kind of the only downside there. And it also depends on what click they go back on, depending on what click the SheHulk is. So yeah, I don't know. I like them a lot. They're fun. I like the sculpt too. It's pretty funny with her about to throw them and everything. Super cool. So that is all the super rares, all the chases. I think I did a much better time this time. I was zipping through them, trying to talk a little bit less because I just want to get this set review out of the way, you guys. Like I said, if you really, really want to see a set review for me going over the legacy cards, the OP kit figures, the bystanders, all that extra bonus stuff, let me know in the comments. If enough of you really want it, I might do it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash that like button. It does help me out a lot. And don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. And if you guys want to help support the channel even more, check the links in the description for the Patreon so you can see your name here in the credits with all these other amazing people, as well as get entered into my monthly giveaways. So if that interests you, make sure to check that out. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.